Hi everyone, welcome back to Kimpo Myers. I'm Ariadna.
And I'm Dylan.
And today, right at the end of our season 2, we have a very special guest. My goodness, we are so happy to finally have today here and present, not only for us, to be honest, in this inner circle of ours, but also just in general to keep as a memory and to share this wonderful place and its stories with you. Who do we have today?
We have, after long being quested by you people, we have my aunt, my second mom. We have Auntie Donna. Auntie, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Very well. So we're here to talk about Medfield State Hospital. We have so much to get to, but Auntie, can you tell us a little bit about Medfield?
Yes, Medfield, before it became Medfield State Hospital, it was Medfield Insane Asylum. Bear with me. It was renamed Medfield State Hospital in 1892. It was the state's first facility for the mentally ill. It remained in operation from 1914 until the doors closed April 13th of 2003. It was a self-sustaining institution and community for thousands of mentally ill patients.
All right, so we have a very long history to go over. But before we get into Medfield, I think it would be prudent to talk about, when did you start? What did you do there?
I started the beginning of time.
In 1819 something. What was the first year it came out?
1892.
1892, yeah, of course.
I started at Medfield. It was my first place. I started in 1987.
Okay.
I was in the medical records department, and my father brought me up there to get me a job, just to get me by till I found something else. Well, 33 years later, I'm still with the Department of Mental Health, waiting for retirement.
Yay!
Wow. And I've mentioned this on other episodes, but you are not the only member of our family to work at Medfield. Who else do we have?
That goes way back. Nana's mother, Marion Piccone, was an LPN there. Nana's brother, Lawrence, worked there as well. He was a farmhand, but
Really?
he ended up leaving after a short period of time because the patients scared him.
Okay.
My dad, Papa, worked there as well. He started out on the units with the patients, and of course he grew to love the patients, and they loved him. And he later went to the facilities department and retired from there several years ago.
Oh.
And my mama.
My sister. She worked on the units with the patients for a while. The patients absolutely loved her. She loved them. Quick funny story about one of the times she was working. There was a patient who was escalating, and one of the many patients that loved my sister was... Sorry. Let me get my head on straight. There was a patient escalating and was about to attack my sister, and this patient, who loved her very much, jumped in and just tackled that patient down and saved her from being seriously injured.
Oh my goodness.
Because I've been hearing these stories my entire life, so sometimes I do get them mixed and matched. I remember you also told me, and I don't know if it was the same patient or not, that attacked a nurse with a chair.
Oh, there's been many of those that have happened. Many staff have been attacked by things, by patients, by objects. I can't say that I know exactly about that one, but I have no doubt that it happened.
How many patients did the whole place have, do you know?
Yes, I have that here. At one
Just
time,
curious.
when it was about to close, we were under 200, but at its peak, there were approximately 2,200 patients.
Whoa.
2,300 patients.
Whoa, I was like, 200's already a lot, but 2,300.
Yes, there were 58 buildings.
Whoa.
Is it 50? Wait, let me check my numbers here.
Yeah, 'cause
I don't think it was 58,
No.
Andy.
I mean, the
Wait a
compound is
minute.
big, though.
It stretches for approximately. I wrote that down too. Bear with me, folks. Of course, I can't find it. But,
It's all right.
As Auntie thinks about this, to anyone listening, you can go to Medfield State Hospital. It is completely abandoned. They can't tear the buildings down because of asbestos, I believe, right?
Yes.
And of course, that's a major hazmat issue. It costs more money to rip it down. So they just kind of leave it there. It's now a very popular dog park in the area.
And like a Sunday stroll with the family. Plus, I feel like they also play basketball there because the basketball courts still exist.
Yep.
Yeah, so the ones that are like in the open, because there's ones that are like are behind the gates, what we've seen, but the ones that are in the open, I've seen kids play with their families and whatnot. So
Yeah, it's very. It's open from dawn till dusk.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a security guard there, but now he has since left. Thank goodness, because I like to sneak up on there after hours, but. That's all right because
It's not like you can get in. Like
right,
that's boarded up tight.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
You just walk around.
there are YouTubers who you can probably find this stuff on YouTube where folks have broken in and they have some really cool, interesting footage.
Of
Really,
this one in particular, or just in general? Oh gosh, I
at
didn't.
Medfield.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I would just be very hesitant. I would love to, but at the
But
same
no.
time, I am terrified of taking a step and
Yes.
falling into the basement. No one can hear you. I mean, that's just I don't.
I'm not
I
a
mean,
fan.
I know you love scary movies, both of you, but I mean, I don't think you want to live one.
And the
Yeah.
floors have collapsed in
Yeah.
the past, so that's a valid concern. Just so we can get back, there were 58 buildings.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't believe it. It spread across 900 acres or 1.4 square miles.
Okay.
Okay. And
Yeah, there's... Sorry.
and what you've always told me, Auntie, is that it was essentially like a little town. I mean, the patients, the ones who were able to, they worked in the garden.
Yes.
They produced their own vegetables and fruits.
Mm-hmm.
They had a power plant?
Yes, they were self-sufficient. They had all their own electricity, water. They didn't need it from anywhere else. It was like a little community. Across the street, there was a farm,
Mm-hmm.
and they had farm hands, and they grew their own food. It was really a beautiful place, if you can believe that.
And we'll cut to the end of the story and then go back. What eventually happened with Medfield? Why did the closure happen?
Well, this makes me very sad, so just bear with me. But back in 1970, I believe the Kennedy administration, I actually have it right here, the meds that they were coming out with were more helpful. So patients were getting better and they were being discharged, so they didn't have the need. During the Kennedy administration in the early 1960s, Congress passed a law requiring that all mental health patients in the United States be housed or hospitalized in the least restrictive environment possible. By the 1970s, most patients were moved from the hospital to community-based halfway houses until most of them were closed. There were very few left, and the patients were just dispersed, and most of them went to Westboro State Hospital, another place where I worked, which has since closed.
I learned about this a little bit when I was in college. I mean, I don't know how. I think nothing's really changed. Essentially, what happened was the government kind of went in and they said they found it more cost efficient to have them out and then possibly something happen, whether it was a violent attack happened, an episode happened. They'd rather pay for that than pay for the whole thing. But you're also putting the community kind of at danger. Not that the people within who were in like the tough ward, which was our building.
Our building, yes. That was a rough place.
They're obviously in an asylum somewhere, but a lot of people were kind of we're kind of, all right, go out, figure it out. And then they go to the prisons, and the prisons don't know how to deal with them.
Exactly.
And it's a really bad issue right now.
It's a horrible issue, and it sickens me that these poor patients were just pushed out, basically, like you said, put into the prison system where they don't belong. I think a lot of it was cost because the buildings were so old, and needed to be maintained, and the cost I guess they just couldn't keep up with it.
I mean, I can imagine that from 1892 to 2003 precisely. That's just a world of a difference when it comes to everything. I mean, it's a really big place.
And you told me, Auntie, that there are some buildings there that were boarded up when you started in '87.
Correct.
So there are buildings that haven't been open in 40, 50, 60 years.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
And you can actually, if you actually do go to Medfield, you can actually tell which building is our building, the building with that, where the tougher patients were.
They were the more the
aggressive.
The Bridgewater State type patients were there. They had the high fence and
the higher fence. They actually maintain that building. That building actually looks relatively new.
Yes.
Compared to the rest, which is just dilapidated.
Yes, they did a lot of work on that, which they had to because they had to keep these folks secured. And it worked.
So the stories about the chairs is in that particular area then?
I would say everywhere.
Okay.
Because, before they had all the meds, they were just suffering from their illnesses, having fits of rage, and just throwing whatever they could get their hands on. And back then, those were heavy metal wood chairs that could cause serious damage.
We're going to get into story time because there are some stories that Auntie has never told me that I'm here for the first time, but I'm going to kick it off. I believe Mom told me, I believe in the early 2000s, once again, right before Medfield closed, there was either a serial killer or a killer in Massachusetts, and he was brought to Medfield because they need to give him a psych evaluation, and he was on the same ward as Mom, and apparently he developed a bit of a crush on her, and the doctors and staff never told her until after the fact, and it's like, oh, a serial killer is interested in me, and you don't tell me, hey, be a little extra careful.
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard. I don't know the details, and even if I did know the patient's name, I couldn't share it, of course. But yes, I did hear that story, and she was petrified. I mean, how do you not tell someone that? That's serious, but things were very loosey-goosey back then. I mean...
And also, they were trying to close up shop.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, let's just...
Yeah, let's just... I mean, years ago, they used to take them sledding across the street. Can you imagine how much fun that would have been? Sledding, oh my God. I would have loved to if I wasn't able to be a part of that, unfortunately, because I was office staff. But they used to take them sledding. They used to take them for trips. They used to go to... I say Walmart, but probably other stores. They would take them to the beach.
These are the non-violent patients. This isn't the R building, folks.
No. They didn't have privileges. But one quick story, they went to a place called Hopkinton State Park in Massachusetts, and my friend, who was a male nurse, had to go into the women's room to get one of the patients out, and then there was another patient who was running down the beach with her shirt lifted. So all these poor families and children were just getting the show of their lives.
I remember, and it was the craziest time ever. I was with my dad and my brother, and we pull into Market Basket, and the van in front of us is a Medfield van, and it was actually my mom with the patients, and they were coming out, and we were already in the car, and the patients surrounded the car and were like looking in like, "You're Dylan." It was rather unnerving. I think I was like 8 or 9 years old.
Oh my God,
that would be scary for a little guy. And they probably just had heard about you and they're like kids, some of them.
Yeah.
Those patients were just like little kids. And we grew to really love a lot of them because most of them didn't have families, and, the people who work there, that's their family because they see them day in and day out.
continue on that. Like the patients, like who did have privileges, like they walked around kind of like if it was a college campus.
Yeah.
I remember Papa brought me to bring you to see you, and there was like a patient or two in your office just kind of
chilling.
Just chilling.
Yep,
So it was like a community, definitely.
It was, and we had a chief operating officer at the time when I was at Medfield, and she was all about the patients. They would stop by her office. She always welcomed them, and she was one of a kind. Once she left, it wasn't the same, but she put them first, as they should have been put first.
And I've once again heard stories about this, when there were nurses or doctors that didn't respect the patients, don't think for a second the patients didn't know.
That's right.
My mother was saved by a patient because she treated them with respect and as an equal.
That's right. That's right.
And when you didn't treat them as a equal, these are very, once again, mentally ill, but also some very big, powerful men and women.
Even if they're small, they have like the power of 10 men, it seems. They just are powerhouses. I don't know how that works, but it's fascinating.
What other details do you have that you want to share with us? Because I see that you have quite a bit.
Well, those were my extra. I just have 2 pages of... I mentioned that the complex included 58 buildings, which I thought was too much, but...
Apparently not.
No, I had it there, and 900 acres, 1.25 square miles. There was, and this property goes way back, even further into the next town over. And one funny story is, it became kind of a regular thing where patients with privileges, there were some homes that were close to the place, and they would walk out, they'd go on their walks on their privileges, they'd go knock and visit the folks who lived nearby. So, they grew to know that it was okay, but imagine, that would be a little scary, seeing a patient knocking at your door. Actually, they probably didn't even knock, so.
Just gonna let themselves in.
Oh my gosh. I just remembered as well, it's next to the river, right?
Charles River.
Yep.
Next to Charles River. Was that ever an issue of any kind?
Yes, we lost some patients to their visits to the Charles River. Back when the influenza hit, I think it was like 1918.
Yeah.
I would say just about, yeah.
So many patients passed that they had to, the town requested that they get their own cemetery because they were running out of space at the main cemetery. So there is a cemetery right up the road from Medfield, and
it's very difficult to get into, though. I mean, it's really a blind driveway, and I think they have like it's sealed off, like you can't actually get in there.
Sometimes it is. I went in one day and didn't hit them, but ran straight into a cop, and I proceeded to make like I was turning around and left. But I shouldn't have, because it's open. I mean, anyone can go look. And there was a sign that I wanted to mention that's on the outside of it, which was really kind of cool.
Because we can visit any cemeteries in general.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I just wish it was more open and not as hidden away, because they really did hide it away.
Well, yeah, mental illness, they didn't want.
Well, yeah, exactly.
At the cemetery, for the patients, it has 841 grave sites.
Wow.
It was opened from 1918, so when the flu hit, until 1988. Originally, there were only numbers on the graves, but there was a Boy Scout who made it his Eagle Scout service project to find the names and dates of the death of those patients, which he should have gotten a heck of a lot more than his badge, because that's a beautiful thing to do.
That is a beautiful thing, too, because they're not just numbers.
No, they're not.
No one's just numbers.
People.
Exactly.
Trying to find...
And it's sad, because back then, that's really how they were viewed. They were just a number.
Yep. No, they were not. It was very sad. What was the question? I'm sorry.
You said you saw a sign. Was that the sign that you saw? Or you're looking up... There you go. You're looking for the sign.
I wrote it somewhere, but something about we have too loved and lost, or it was just a really, really
I'm sure you'll find it, because I think I know which one you mean, that I've seen.
It's in my notes here somewhere, but...
What do you mean? Well, while you find it, what do you mean that it's hidden away?
Well,
Like we can't drive there?
You can, but like, it's like, you can't just pull right in. It's kind of a blind driveway, and then like right in front, it's blocked off. So you can't just go in. Yeah, I think, I don't know if you have to park somewhere else and walk, but it's not as accessible as
Right.
an average graveyard. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, sometimes it's barricaded, so has that thing up so you can't get in. Other times, you're free. I've been there when I could go freely and walk through, but other times, when I saw the policeman there, then that wasn't. I just didn't go in. Obviously, something may have happened, or
Exactly.
because people unfortunately do things they shouldn't there.
I agree. What do you think about the family members that of the people who were there? You know what I mean? Like, do they ever
The family
go
of the
visit?
patients.
Thank you.
Most of the patients from way back when didn't have. A lot of them were just dropped off. When it first opened, there were a lot of people who were sent there for PMS or postpartum depression, just things that you wouldn't imagine.
No.
Um,
Especially nowadays. No, my goodness.
And then jumping over very quickly to mental retardation, I also worked at Rentham State School, and I knew a few of the patients who were just ordinary great guys. One of them told me he was dropped off as a little boy, and that was his home. And he would walk across the street and have a few drinks and come back and just make everybody laugh. He was just such a pleasure, and that was his home. The people who worked there were his family. And thank goodness for that for him.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like some people treated it like an orphanage, kind of like, here, I'm just
here
gonna...
you go. I can't deal with you.
Yeah.
It was very, very taboo back then. Like, you don't want that
Yeah.
associated with your family.
Nope.
We've come a long way.
Yes.
Still got more to go, but I mean,
It's much
Yeah, I mean,
better.
much better. We do talk about postpartum depression a lot more leisurely in a good way.
Yeah.
Open, like, we're more open
Yes.
about it, and there's ways that we can treat it. For example, definitely PMS, obviously. I mean,
I imagine. And
they're like menopause. I mean, what? I can't.
I
So
know.
yeah, with those kind of things, we're definitely coming a long way, and then we need a lot more other ways, but still. But yeah. This all started because I asked about the river, because I always found I don't know why, I found it curious. I just do that's like really right next to it. Because we've gone in a bunch of times, not in the building obviously, but in the facility, on
the grounds.
On the grounds, thank you.
You're welcome.
And one of my favorite spots is actually that spot, because you see the beautiful...
Yes.
it's a really nice view.
It's a really, really
It
nice
is.
view.
It is. Some of the power plant was taken down, and that's one of the nice views where you can look out and see the Charles. And
Is that where the power plant was?
toward the back,
Yeah.
where you go down, that was
Yeah.
the power plant.
And I don't know, I don't think a lot of people know about that as well. That you can see the river so
Yeah.
beautifully there.
It's well.
Because you didn't show me the first time we were there. You showed me on the third or the fourth, and then we've gone by like not every other Sunday, but just once in a while, just for that view as
Yep.
well. Because
I
it's
do
so
as well.
pretty. Like, yeah.
And there was something that was connected to the river that I was going to share, but it escaped me. So I
It'll
guess
come
we'll
back.
wait till it comes back.
It'll come back.
Do you have any more tales of patients or spooky tales?
I have spooky tales.
Oh, tell us.
And I just have to say, some of the I really grew to love some of them. They were so unique and special, and they really hold a special place in my heart, because mental illness was, like Dylan said, taboo, and you couldn't talk about it. And now more people than we know may not have as severe as some of these patients, but I mean, depression is a very common mental
Very,
illness
very
for many
common.
people, but you couldn't talk about it back then. And I think maybe if more people did, it might have been a little better.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we talk about it more and more. I think we are. I think we do as a society, especially the younger generations, obviously. Like, I feel like with my generation, I know people who are younger than me, like, obviously your daughters in general, but I was talking about the youngest. Because they talk about it frequently, and I love that, because it's like, okay, this is good. Because it's more normal than we think, you know? But I also hope that we have, like, a place, not like an insane asylum by any means, or if it's needed, but you know what I mean? Like, other places for that kind of therapy and that kind of ways of healing.
And unfortunately, there are so few left that it's just so upsetting. The newest facility is Worcester Recovery Center and Hospital, and that's like a hotel, in my opinion. But, I mean, it teaches them there's a bank and there's a cafe, and it kind of helps them get ready for the outside, which is kind of nice, because it should be revolving way back when the patients were in for 30, 40, all their life. They died there. But now, with all the meds and the treatments and therapies, they're able to get them out. As long as they stay on the meds, it's a great thing. And there have been many stories. There is actually Pat Deegan, I believe, suffered from mental illness and went on to get a PhD.
Oh, wow.
And she's doing quite well, and stories like that just warm my heart, because, you know, they can do it. You can do it. Doesn't matter if you're mentally ill. If you want to do it, you have just as good a chance as anybody.
110% agree.
So kudos to those folks.
Exactly.
I remembered my story.
Yay!
We were talking about
the
the power
river.
plant.
Oh, yeah, there you
river
go.
power
See?
plant.
There you go.
This I can never, ever explain. And you can believe it or not, but it is the gospel. My friends and I were coming back from lunch, and the power plant road was a spirally road. It was a one-car road.
Mm-hmm.
So we came in the back way, because we were coming back late from lunch, of course. And we were coming up, and there was a box truck coming down. My friend was driving my car. Nobody knew where to go. We all screamed, closed our eyes, and when we opened our eyes, we were past the truck. The truck was past us. There was no way any of us could have gone around each other. I can't explain it, but that's what happened. To this day, I'm baffled. And everyone involved is baffled, but it happened.
You just reminded me of a movie, obviously. That you just go through the truck.
Yes.
Or something. For a second there, I thought, I'm like, oh my god, is the truck going to disappear? But no.
It might have for a moment. It might. But that was wild. That was a wild ride.
Literally. Reminds me of, oh my goodness gracious, what you were saying before. One of them was Trick or Treat. This is right at the beginning when you were saying they went on bus trips and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Reminded me of Trick or Treat, the movie.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. And this one reminded me of an episode of yours because you love, I want to say, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those episodes. I don't know which one. Are You Afraid of the Dark Master? Not me. But,
I'll think on it.
But one of them that's like a similar kind of vibe.
I've never experienced it again. Thank goodness. It's not something I'd like to frequent.
I think it's something about that place, without a doubt.
I agree. I absolutely believe that there are spirits there.
Yeah. Not only because of the cemetery, just in general, I feel like the energy is strong when you go there, especially if you're a little bit witchy like me.
Definitely. Would you like to hear another little creepy
Yes.
story?
Please.
Yes.
I worked in one of the buildings in the back, and for whatever reason, I went in early to get something done. And I was the only one in the building. There was no question. It was just me. And I was on the second floor, and above me was the attic. And by golly, while I was doing my business, someone was walking back and forth up in that attic. And if I wasn't alone, I would have went up with someone, but I wasn't ready at that time. I was very young and had just started, and I wasn't prepared to go up there. But there were footsteps up there, and I wasn't hearing things. It's a good one, huh?
I like that
It
one,
is.
see. I thought you would enjoy these stories more than me, but right now I'm really enjoying these.
I know you would. Any stories that you personally didn't experience but you heard? Any stories that were told from nurse to nurse?
The people, it was difficult because you really couldn't talk about things because of confidentiality. I can't recall any, but I know that there were plenty of them out there, especially in the older, really old. Like I worked in another one of the buildings. It was an enormous, long building, and there would be footsteps. Someone would knock, and I'd say, "Come in," and no one would be there. But someone knocked at the door. I'm not deaf, but I feel like they were playing.
Yeah.
And I would sneak into basements when I could and check out things, and
Especially because you love these kind of stuff, like these kind of things. Yeah.
There was one building that is, I believe, it's the Lee Building. It's declared a historical land site. It's the chapel, the big tall building, and we used to have to go there. And at the time, we were doing something with the records, and down there is where they did autopsies, and you could see some of the remnants, the jars, the stuff. They had patient belongings, those cute little old-fashioned glasses. I mean, it was really a fascinating place, and the chapel was just beautiful. They used to have movies and dances there. As a matter of fact, there were a few movies that were filmed there.
Really?
One of my favorites, Shutter Island, scared the pants off me. One of them, I actually read this recently. It was called The Mutants. Does that sound familiar for you young folks? New Mutants.
I heard of it.
Apparently, the cast was there. They were young kids. They were very creeped out by the place. But
when was this film? Like after...
New Mutants or Shutter Island?
Both.
I know Shutter Island was... I think I was in college.
yes.
So like 2000... I can look it up.
I don't have the date, but The Mutants, I think that is what was being filmed. I was on my way there to take a little trip, and I pulled in, and there was a guard, and I said, I just want to come in, and he's screeching at me to get out. There's a movie going on. I said, I don't care about the movie. Let me turn around. He wouldn't even let me turn around. I had to back out onto the street. But there was a movie being filmed as I was there.
Oh, that's so cool.
Which was kind of cool. But
I thought when you went, like, also to the Shutter Island, I thought it was older than that, in the sense of...
Yeah, Shutter Island was 2010.
Oh, wow, so, like, after it closed. I thought it was still open and they were inside the church, but no. Or the chapel.
Yes, they used... That was one
so
of
the chapel's still... usable?
It must be. I would hope it's usable. They did some work on it.
Okay.
The chapel was
I
used.
didn't know that.
A building called, what we call the S building, was used. That's where they were sleeping. They had all the cots. That's where they had slept. That building was used. The kitchen. It's funny, if you've worked there and you watch the movie, you could see, oh yeah, that's the kitchen. The chairs, everything was the same.
Oh, wow.
And
So this movie really scared you.
Yep.
But you watched it not only because you love scary movies, but also because of where it was filmed, obviously.
yes, that was the main reason, and I love a psychological thriller, and that it was. Because I needed Dylan to help me with a few things at the end because I was baffled.
Okay, definitely not my kind of movie, but...
I think you could handle Shutter Island.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's not violent or bloody or anything.
Oh, it's just weird. Very. But there, in the kitchen there, and so if there's a picture of it online somewhere, there is a tree growing up through the floor in the kitchen.
Oh.
I believe the picture is
That's
online
so
somewhere.
cool.
Can you imagine?
I want to see that.
We can't get into the building, but
I know.
that I'm sure that's where I
There.
saw it. Or I may have a
Yeah.
picture too. I have some pictures from when they were doing Shutter Island. I had it in, and I don't know where they are, but I have them online
Oh.
Nice.
that I'll try to share with you. They did the brick, what they made to be as the brick was all styrofoam, but when you looked at it, it looked like brick. They made the side of the Lee building. They made it the main entrance, and it was beautiful.
And you can actually, even when you go today, you can see the imprint of where it was.
Yes.
Of where the set was.
I think you might have showed me. I don't
Yeah.
know. You probably have.
showed you
but
that.
you showed me a bunch of stuff as well. Well, I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, me neither. This warrants a trip. If you're ever in the area, folks, go to Medfield State Hospital.
Exactly.
I mean, it was really, really cool with Shutter Island because, we're a bunch of very small New England towns.
Yes.
And the fact that Leo was down the street, people were going crazy.
Oh, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes.
And I think Mark
Wahlberg.
No, not Wahlberg.
Sorry. I got another one about Metro
Ruffalo.
Boston. Oh.
Hulk.
Hulk, yeah. Oh, I like him a lot. Well, I like both, but I like, Mark.
It was a great cast. It's a great movie. I highly suggest people go out and see it.
It's worth it if you like that kind of thing. Speaking of Leonardo DiCaprio, there was another movie filmed in one of our buildings in Metro Boston. And one of my coworkers was there at the time, and he was telling us the story. And he said, "Yeah, I was outside for a smoke, and this guy asked me for a light, and lo and behold, it was Leonardo DiCaprio. You could have knocked me over with a feather. He gave Leo a light." My coworker, go figure. That was exciting for me.
That's so cool.
I thought so.
Just in general. Oh my goodness. Apart from Shutter Island, what other spooky stories do you have for us?
Just mostly hearing things. Just, I actually have got feelings. It's like I would be in there doing something, and it would be like someone was walking behind me, and I'd go look, and nobody would be there, but I felt a swoosh.
Yeah.
So I believe there was someone there just saying, "Hey."
We've talked about this with Sam, So Spooky, because we have a section, well, not a section, but a KPM, oh my goodness gracious. Exclusive, yes, sure. What's it called? KPM Supernatural, my gosh. And we talked about these things as well, like our experiences with the supernatural, and Sam's as well, of course, and like the feeling, like I understand, because I felt that, not Medfield, well, maybe Medfield, I don't know. No, me probably at some point, because we have gone enough times to, and at different times of day, at night.
Yes, I think that's the best time.
It's really fun at night.
Yeah.
We, we'll definitely take more pictures, but last Halloween, we took our pictures there.
Mm-hmm.
We were, what was I? Oh yeah, we did ghost face pictures, and you were trying to kill me.
Yeah.
You were wearing your ghost face mask.
That was in the garage.
Okay.
Oh, you have, I know what stories, but you can share those stories.
The garage, one of the patients,
the greenhouse.
The greenhouse.
I was going to say, I'm like, that doesn't look like a garage.
Yes, one of the patients took their life in the greenhouse.
So it's kind of it's small, so it's like, it's eerie to be in there.
Yeah, it's very small. We decided to take them there because, like I said, it was on a regular Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks before Halloween. I don't really remember. Everyone was wearing their mask at that time, blah, blah, blah. Social distancing, of course. But it was filled with people everywhere. And we wanted to go for a photo shoot with us and the girls, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The teen queens, like I call them. And we decided not the garage, the greenhouse, because it was really cool, obviously, not only because of the story, but just because it's a cool effect and whatnot. So we definitely have posted them in Halloween. We can post them again. But yeah, he was wearing the ghost face mask from
Cool.
Scream, the TV show.
Oh,
It was nice.
nice.
Yeah, so we
It
took
was
some
very
of
nice.
those. We did, and then we took some of the girls and the few as well in the buildings. So now we can go without masks.
Yes.
Maybe during the week as well. I'm assuming there's less people than on a Sunday. But when we can take, like, I don't know, more photo shoots or something other.
Sorry, I'd like to tell you something a little eerie about one of the buildings I worked in.
Mm.
These buildings are closed up pretty tight, and I know if people want to, they can get in there. But if you go there to this day, this building has been closed since 2003. There are lights in the windows. Some of the windows. I have pictures.
I was going to ask you about that too. There's like the one in the entrance, right?
Yep.
Yeah, right in the front of the building, certain windows have lights. Well, there's no running water. There's no electricity, but those lights will flicker. Something is in there with those things in the window.
I agree, because and it's usually like every time we go, I always notice it because it's literally the first building on the left, if I'm not mistaken. It's humongous.
Yep.
It's hard to miss. We have some really good sunset pictures there as well, if I'm not mistaken. Like with that, we have some more we'll show you too. And with that one in particular, I remember because they're really similar to the lights that his mom has around the house.
Yes.
And I know that's really typical here in Massachusetts because I see them in many houses that aren't haunted or abandoned, just in general. What are they called? Like they're
solar. They're solar, but how did they get in there? Who put them in there, and how come it's only in certain windows, and sometimes they're on, sometimes they're not. You can go one day they're there, one day they're not.
Someone's keeping them lit.
or putting batteries
The dog
in.
agrees. literally just barked right on time. One of the dogs agrees.
It was perfect.
It's like, yep.
Yeah, very. I like to walk around, and you got to be careful going near the buildings though, because the roofs are made of slate, those beautiful slate slabs, and you got to be careful because they're still falling off to this day. So you can get a good knock on the head if you walk too close to the building.
Oh, nice.
We've been very close. We've gone downstairs as well in some of the buildings. Not like inside, but like downstairs. Yeah,
like at the storeroom.
Yeah,
the kitchen.
exactly.
Yeah, those are fun.
And I forgot what it is, and I have the pictures on my hard drive. So one of the walls has like
like the poetry.
Thank you for reading my mind.
Oh yes, I saw that.
That must have been someone's college project or something.
Yeah, it is, and it tells you what it is. I just forgot exactly what it is right now, to be honest. Well, I did take pictures of it because I found it very curious, but I just can't.
Yeah, that
right
was
now.
interesting. Why?
Yeah,
they would,
and in some of the walls around, like not only that big wall that you can tell that something's really big written on it, but also when you go around in the smaller windows, like closer to the ground, those also have some here and there. So yeah, it's something with art, I guess, obviously. Yeah, but we'll figure it out.
An interesting place to put that stuff, but
yeah, exactly right.
But I was very lucky to have been able to work at several facilities because they kept closing them.
Exactly.
What other?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
What other hospitals were there? You said,
God.
Medfield, Rentham. You said.
Rentham State School was Department of Mental Retardation.
Mm-hmm.
We had, just to name a few, because there were so many. There was one in. We may have to do part 2 for this because I'm going to have to do some research. But Westboro State Hospital, Worcester State Hospital, which was recently knocked down finally, and they built the new Worcester Recovery Center that has been open for a while. Northampton State Hospital. There's so many of them. I just can't. I can't spit them all out. Out of all the
ones you worked, obviously this was your favorite. I would assume.
Yes.
Did you see a big difference between that one and like the rest of them?
Yes.
Okay. Well, like
good or bad?
Good. Medfield was like it was like a great big giant family. I mean, the patients, they'd be laying on the grass, listening to their little radios and saying hi, and if you said hello to them, you made their day. And you could walk around the ground. Nobody was afraid. I mean, I used to walk from the front of the campus to the back to bring the payroll, and you got to visit. It was just really a pleasant place to work. They were like extended family. And that was my all-time favorite, and it broke my heart.
Because the rest are a little bit more, not limited, but more constricted.
Yeah, they started to get more... not so loosey-goosey anymore.
Yeah, I mean, every extreme is bad. At least with them, with Medfield, I feel like, especially in the later years, they weren't as loosey-goosey, I would say. But, like, they're people. Like, if you're within your community, you're not hurting anybody else. Not you're downtown Boston,
Exactly.
Just waving and saying hello. You're literally, quote-unquote, in the middle of nowhere.
And the campus was so big where there was plenty of room for them to just go and hang out and enjoy, and it was, and they kept the grounds beautiful.
Do you know if they, like, because I feel like every time we go it's very upkept, apart from the building itself, obviously, but the grass is always cut, and...
Yeah.
I'm sure the town they did buy it from the state. The town paid a hefty...
Oh, really?
I'm sure I have it somewhere. They were going to build, I think, like 40 units, but because of the hazardous materials on the grounds, the buildings, I mean, I don't think those buildings will ever come down because they are loaded with asbestos.
Yeah, it always shocks me every time we talk about it, and I feel like I'm hearing the same story again, but like brand new every time you tell me that they literally cannot be knocked down.
No, I don't believe they can, and that's why they opened it as a more of a park for people to just go and enjoy. And the buildings are boarded up, but there is a history there, and it is a beautiful campus.
It is. It really is.
And the fact that so many people are probably going in, being told to leave. I'm happy that they actually gave in and really just let the community have it because they wanted it.
And Medfield is a nice place, so I like to think that people aren't being destructive. I haven't seen much destruction, so
No?
I'm thrilled about that. But it's wonderful for everyone. The dogs, horses too. I think they have horses.
Oh, they do. I've seen them because I love horses as well. So like we've seen them, we've hung out with them.
It's just I would actually like us to go sometime and just walk.
All of
Spend
it.
the whole day, be a pack of lunch, and because it's
I'd love
so
that.
huge.
I would love that, yeah, because we've always gone like in little increments because of life, and then COVID, of course, that we've just been really, really, really strict. But yeah, like definitely stakes. I know I haven't seen all of it. I don't know if Dylan. I'm assuming by now.
Probably. I want to. I mean, there's the main campus we always go to, but there are buildings the further you walk kind of down the street, and I'd like to get a closer look at those.
Walk down the street.
And plus, it's crazy that you've
As
been
you
there.
walk down the street, like there's still more of
Yes. Okay. Yes. Sorry, I lost my way for a minute.
That's crazy that you've been there when it was open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember much of it?
Bits and pieces. I remember like picking my mom up from the building she worked at. Actually, they tore down. What was it?
Heartbreaking.
Was it that like the police were using it as a training ground and they shot up the walls? And
Yes, they did a lot of damage because the S building where I told you was a building used for Shutter Island. That was Department of Corrections used that. So when it closed, they used to do their shooting practice and everything. And the building was the Clark building. For those of you who don't know the Boston accent. And they actually have, that is also online. You can see open all the floors. You know, they took the outside out and you could look. It was just amazing, but for some of us very heartbreaking because a lot of us worked in that building and that was the main building where the patients were, and to see it just be gone, it just doesn't look the same.
It is weird driving up and just an empty lot.
Empty. Very sad.
I'll definitely want to see pictures of that, obviously, especially seeing it open like that.
Oh, it was
How come they chose that? Well, I'm assuming that was the most modern one, like the most upkept one, I would assume.
Yeah, that was, I think, built in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken.
So that's why they chose
I might
that
be
one.
wrong. Yeah, probably because it was, it was just spread out properly. They could practice their shooting and kick the door in, and it worked well for that purpose.
And then they were able to knock it down even among the asbestos?
Well, no, because it was
Like-
built earlier. Because a lot of those buildings were built in the 1800s.
Oh, okay, obviously.
But that was one of the newest. I think that was the newest.
Addition, alright, because the rest were built in 1892, apparently.
Yes.
Probably before.
And to give a quick little shout out to my great grandma, you mentioned her briefly in the beginning. What was she doing there?
And Nana was an LPN. She worked in one of the back buildings that was never open when I was there.
Ooh, questions then. Is that why your love for this place started and where? And also because his mom, your sister, is also a nurse to now, to this very day. Do you think that's where it started?
I don't know. I don't think so because my father basically, Dylan's papa, said, all right, let's go up. He worked at Medfield at the time. He says, come on, we're going to go get your job. Okay, Dad. So we went up there. And it was just something to get me by, just so I had something. And I just met so many wonderful people. Like I said, the patients, they were very low key and you could hang with them and they weren't violent like the population now. So they were really enjoyable, and the atmosphere, it was just like a community.
Did you ever visit your grandma?
I was not alive when she worked there. It was
Okay.
that long ago.
Oh, wow. When did she work there?
Well, that would have to be a continuation because I don't know. But when Mum worked there, she saw. There was information to state that Nana worked there. Her son, Nana's brother. I don't think Nana worked there, but Papa, your mom, and myself. So quite a few of us
Yeah, exactly.
unconnected unknowingly.
Which is very interesting. And you worked there the same time as your sister.
I did for a short time frame, yes. I never got to see her much, but I was always in administration because I worked on the unit as a clerk. So I had some interaction with the patients, but I wasn't one to have to. I didn't want to have to care for them, and because I would have gotten in trouble. That back then they'd say, "Oh, can I have a hug?" And yeah, I'd give anybody who asked, I'd give a hug, but boundaries, and they could be planning something to frame you for something. So I wouldn't have done well because I'm too sympathetic, and I just really felt for them.
And then there's that story that Papa told me when he first started there. He was on one of the wards one night, and a young woman approached him, and she had nothing on, and he was so mortified and upset. He ran and had to go tell the doctor, and the doctor had to come out and was like, "What's going on? What are you doing?"
Yeah, that was kind of normal for some of them. If they didn't get their way or they wanted attention, they'd just shed their. They were just a unique group, very special. A special kind of people.
I was just imagining her papa.
Yeah, I'm sure he wasn't thrilled about that.
Just knowing his personality.
The patient had to apologize to him, and
oh my goodness.
They were really a lot of fun. Oh, I do have a nice story. This is a nice story. This is about the patient who tackled the person to save your mom.
Mm-hmm.
There was a reverend who worked there, and he was just the most beautiful man. Rest your soul, Father Heaver. He came in, and I'm going to try not to get emotional. I may have to cut it short, but he was a beautiful man. He was very sickly when he came in for something, and I was in a bad place, very emotional, because I saw him. He wasn't as healthy as I remember, and that patient who tackled for your mom said, "Donna, I'm going to give you my ring. You got to give it back to me, but I'm giving it to you now to help you get through this." And she said, opposite to emotion, action, which is what she was taught.
Mm-hmm.
You go the opposite of what you're feeling. So that special patient helped me through a very difficult time with what she was taught. And let me just say, she didn't like me until she knew that Dylan, your mom, was my sister. Then I was wonderful. Once she found that out, she always visited me and asked about your mom.
Mm-hmm.
That's a story that sticks.
Yeah, that was. It was this, and the patients loved him. He was just so good. He was very low key and calm, and how could you not love him?
I mean, that's what you need in that kind of environment.
And he just connected with them. And one of the patients spoke on his spoke about him and said something to the effect of, he put up with us for years. We're as crazy as bedbugs here, and and everyone got it. I mean, but that's the kind of population it was back then.
Seems like a magical time among all the crazy.
Mm.
Yeah, I
And the danger, it seems a little bit more, I don't know if magical, but
depending on where you worked. I
mean,
exactly. On the units, that's why I never wanted to have to, if a patient I spoke to and we were cordial would go off the wall, it would be too upsetting for me. There was one of my favorites. I saw her shackled one time, and it just tore my heart out. It was necessary because she could be very difficult, but I never saw that sign, and that just tore me apart. But she could have torn them apart if she wasn't shackled.
See, I'm more like you. I can never see that.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's really hard. I don't know if you would be able to.
Yeah. I mean, it is a mental hospital at the end of the day.
Well, yeah. You got to remember where you are.
Exactly.
And with Auntie doing paperwork. There you go.
But yeah, from going, to saying hi, how are you, to an hour later seeing them all shackled.
Yeah.
That's a lot. You told me once, or maybe it was Mom, maybe it was Papa. I don't. I've been hearing stories my whole life. Like Medfield's kind of our weird second home.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but it's true though.
there was a patient. He's a very nice man, very cordial, very polite. Murdered his whole family.
His mother and father. Kind of like the Lizzie Borden thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was the nicest guy. He was an unbelievable artist. He'd paint. He'd do the ink pens. Holy. He was a talented, very talented guy. And obviously he just snapped and the medication helped him. But you never... There were many, well not many, but several who committed murders or attempted, and they were there, and you would never know by talking to them. One of them was, every time I saw this man, he was sharply dressed. His hair was done. He was in nice slacks and a nice button-down shirt, and always looked his best.
You never judge a book by its cover.
No, anyone can have a breakdown and snap, and
That's also true.
yeah, you just never know. But that's just an example. You know, this patient used to say, "Oh, Donna, could you go up and get me some money from my account?" Because that was part of what I did. I went to get their money. Sure, whatever you need. Here's my thing, and thank you, Donna. Just polite as can be. They're gonna have nightmares tonight.
Oh, right?
Just, you know.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, my goodness. On my behalf, Medfield, aside for a quick second, there's another story I did want you to tell because Dylan told it on your behalf in one of our episodes.
Oh, sure.
And like now that you're here, I can take advantage. And it's actually the one in this house with the crows. Please.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, this was mind blowing. Dylan's Nana was on her deathbed basically, and of course everybody left me in the house alone. And I was very uncomfortable, of course, and she was deteriorating, and I couldn't even be in the same room with her because it was just obviously too upsetting.
So she had already passed.
No.
She was about to.
Oh.
She was barely alive, and I heard this noise, and I looked outside, and on my honor, the whole backyard was covered with black crows. And I believe she passed that night or the day after. That's... I would never tell a lie, and that was very eerie. I mean, not just a few, covered. The whole backyard was black.
And I thought about you a lot lately in the sense of, because I've seen more and more crows, because they know we live in the house right now.
Very different, though, than...
I think it's very different, and I think... See, you're the one who likes... we're just a weird couple. We're a very unique couple, because I'm like, I think they're cool.
No, I love them too, but...
See, I don't think of death when I see them. I just think they're
do.
so, like...
I
Well,
do.
yeah, like, you know, most people do, and I'm like, I'm so fascinated by them. It's like, don't you think about death? I'm like, no, I just think they're beautiful black creatures saying hello. Like any other birds.
They're
you know?
beautiful, but whenever I see them, I say, and I look around and wonder and look around me and say, is, something going on here, or is it just one or two just visiting? And ever since then, it's just been one or two visiting.
It's been a 1 or 2 visiting, like, because we do have the bird feeder right in front of,
Yes.
like, in our front yard, so
Yes.
we have that. And they were around for, like, 2-3 weeks ago for, like, a whole week.
Mm-hmm.
I sent you some videos. I was like, oh, a crow. And they were just, like, walking around next to, like, the squirrels and the chipmunks and just minding their own business.
Never seen a lot of them again ever since then. But that's...
Did you ever see the movie? What's the movie called? Well, The Crows, I'm assuming?
Birds.
The Birds.
The birds.
Did
No,
you?
I'm not a
Okay.
big fan of birds. I
Okay.
don't know that I like that one.
Then it's good to watch. It can creep you out a bit.
Yeah, well, I'll be calling you if I have a nightmare.
It's pretty mild.
Oh, really?
We use a lot of time on KPM to figure out what area can handle and what she can't, because she doesn't really like horror, but she likes to dip her toes in. You can handle the birds.
Oh, really?
There's like one scene where a guy's eyes are gouged out from the birds, but like other than that, it's like a quick little scene. But after that, I mean, it's just
more psychological.
yeah, and it's also just a ton of birds attacking.
Yeah.
Oh, yay.
It's pretty great.
It's like watching...
Big fan.
It's like watching Shark. No, what's it called?
Jaws?
Shark.
I still love the ocean.
I know, that's the thing. Like, I'll still go in. Like, I'm a mermaid. I'm Moana. Let me come on. Like, of course.
I just keep my eyes open when I'm out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. But I like that story as well. That kind of stuck to me because I understand as well. And we think about it sometimes because it is this room, coincidentally enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's why, like, I know I've heard stuff, and I know there's a bunch of us in this house, and it creaks like crazy, but stuff does happen. But it makes sense, though, for what it is.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, I think that Papa and Nana are here watching over us.
Yeah.
Oh, I never even thought about it. Nana passed in here and Papa passed away in the other room.
Yeah, we have talked about it. Just
Well, no. I mean, he technically died in the hospital, but like he had a brain aneurysm and
yeah. So he's here like he wanted to because he told me the story a bunch of times.
He was actually unresponsive here, so
It's here, like he wanted to in his bed.
I'm going to expire in my house.
and God bless him, he did.
What a thing to say.
Well, you know, he told it like it was, so.
That he did.
And that was a sentence. I'm going to expire in this house, right?
Yes,
Like expire.
Yep. Expire.
Oh,
He was a
it's
character.
cute though.
Yeah, I loved it. Expire.
I like that much better than I'm gonna expire. It's okay. It's my expiration date. Who knows? But it's gonna be in this house.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure they're still with us in here more than
I
like
bet.
we always say more than in the cemetery, for example.
What's that face?
Yeah.
What? Oh.
I was just thinking. I didn't know.
No. She not so subtly mentioned, let's do the Ouija board, which I'd love to.
Let's see if we can sneak it in.
Oh,
I think I already did. That's probably why I couldn't find it.
I'm definitely down to do the Ouija board.
Yeah, because
And then-
you both went to the Ouija board in Medfield as well.
Yes.
Yes, right in
She
the,
said yes.
right in the greenhouse. See what we can.
Ooh, in
Yeah.
the greenhouse. Your favorite place, my love.
Right. I mean, but if we do it in here, you can talk to Papa, and he can tell you about how you haven't changed. You put his death date on his tombstone yet.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's not a good idea because you're right. Somehow he will yell about
Yeah.
that.
Be on the grave.
Because a very quick story. Your mom and I were out yesterday, and we were looking for a family stone in Dedham, and couldn't find it. All of a sudden, this bird was out there yapping. It wasn't just chirping; it was yapping. And Mom was talking to it, and lo and behold, she said, "I bet that was Dad yapping at me because I wasn't in the right place." He was saying, "Lauren, you're in the wrong place."
And they found it.
And we found what we were looking for. So it was him. We believed it was him pushing her. And I said, "I'll take here. You go there," because she felt that we were getting close. And lo and behold, I walked right into it.
And that's they just told me that this morning, and I love that story. And we also want to go to that cemetery.
Ooh, that's a fun one. Very lovely.
Definitely.
It's very beautiful. A lot of beautiful stones.
Yes, that we'll
Nice.
talk about without a doubt.
I will not be put into a cemetery.
No.
Mom, where you going?
I've always
"Here we go."
I've always said it, and everyone's
Yeah.
always laughed at me that
I did not laugh.
I want a Viking funeral where they put you on the boat and they light it on fire and they put you out to sea. And I said this to
Hunter's
Ariadna last month. Maine is about to pass a law legalizing it.
Well, I'll be long gone by then, so do what you want. Just don't go.
I
before
don't
me.
want to be. I love graveyards, but the idea of my body being, I don't like it. I want to be in the sea.
Well, you know that's
Ash.
beautiful in its own way, but I'm surprised Papa didn't tell us what he wanted. Oh, he wanted to go down to be buried in Bourne, but I told him I'm not traipsing all the way down the Cape to see you.
You're lucky. He could have easily wanted to go down to Arlington because
Isn't that down the Cape? Oh no, Bourne.
No.
Arlington.
Arlington National Cemetery in D.C. because he was a veteran.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness.
He could have easily put that
Oh God.
Oh,
I would have picked the Cape over that.
altered will. I want to be put in Arlington.
You're like, oh goodness.
I think maybe if he had thought about it, he would have
Yeah.
insisted, and he would have made changes, and he would have. Yeah, we would have had to follow through. But thank goodness we didn't have to. He's
Exactly.
right up the road.
There you go.
Yeah, Medfield is about, 5-10 minutes drive from our house, and the cemetery is about a minute.
Yeah,
So,
literally.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. The last couple of things when you said about the way you want to be, not buried, because you're not going to be buried. The way you want to be put to rest
Good
when
word.
you expire. I always thought, even though I haven't really thought this far as you, not, but I don't know where it is, probably somewhere in Europe, but you can put your ashes to like the bottom of a tree and like make the tree grow, so like you're always part of like,
Oh my god.
yeah,
That's beautiful.
you're part of nature and you're like with the ground, and I love that. It sounds like very much me.
Yeah, they fuse your ashes to like seedlings,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So you're actually growing a tree, and then people just visit the tree,
How beautiful.
right? See, there you go. I
Love
always
it.
thought that one. Oh, the second thing. Sorry, the second thing just escaped really quickly.
No, I was
Or
just
did you think of
thinking
something else?
if anyone in our family had done that,
Oh.
and Papa were still alive, he probably would have got annoyed with the tree and chopped it down.
Probably. He was a good guy, though. Don't be fooled.
Great man, but nothing. He was just an old school military man.
Yep.
Everything had to be clean and pristine. Nothing on top of anything.
He's German.
His basement had nothing in it except for a box of Auntie's stuff. And every time Auntie came over, Papa would be like, "When are you getting that goddamn box out of my basement?"
Exactly.
It's not in the way, Papa.
No, it was the point that it was in his space. And then when, oh my god, we had lots of stuff. Funny part is when we brought some of it home, it had the smell of Papa's basement.
Oh,
Of course.
love that though. My other side story before we wrap up was you just took us there, and it's also like 5 minutes away from our house.
Oh, right, the Southwood Hospital.
Exactly.
It was a cancer hospital. I was actually brought there when I was a child. I was very ill, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. But that's a place I'd like to go to. But it's clearly posted: do not enter. Very hazardous materials in there. Very dangerous, even outside on the grounds. But very cool. I mean, when we saw it, it was huge. It went way back. I'd love to see it from the aerial view, but
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't think we'll ever be able to get in there.
Not there. And then next to that was the prison.
Ooh, yes.
Was
No-
that not
Norfolk.
Norfolk.
MCI Norfolk?
Which is also, like I said, like 5 minutes away as well. And we didn't know it was
Yeah,
that
we're very
close.
connected.
We're like,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, who had some very notorious Boston folks were in there. I think the Strangler might have spent some time in there.
Oh.
And actually, I think the Strangler, there was in Westboro, it was called Westboro's Boys Home or something for difficult to manage, and I think the Strangler also might have spent some time there. That's no longer, of course. A couple of the buildings are still up on Oak Street, but they're barely up. They're just falling apart. I don't know why they're not getting rid of them, but very cool places.
I feel like we gotta discover Massachusetts more. Probably New England in general, but I'm sure like many of these places pop up.
This just history. That's all. That's what
Yeah.
Massachusetts and New England is. It's just history,
I wish
rich
they would've
history.
taught this stuff in high school. But there's one hospital for those who are interested and really like this stuff. The history of Danvers State Hospital. Ooh, which reminds me, Session 9 was filmed there.
There you go. That's the other one.
I never had the opportunity to go there, but just from the footage from Session 9, that's actual footage, and right now there are condos that I would like to live in, but there are some condos, and they did keep some of the building. I was there very briefly, so I couldn't really get a good look, but there was definitely some type of the buildings that were left there. But back then, that was the Kirkbride plan, and the building was built like a bat. Females one side, males on the other, and in the middle is where, if you watched. But they were built like a bat if you see an aerial view.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and at Medfield they changed that and did the cottage plan, so it was more, more like being on the outside.
Exactly. That is so interesting.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
And that one you can't go to. You can't visit.
Danvers?
Yes.
It's an apartment complex now. You can go up there, but after seeing the pictures online, I mean, I wouldn't know what was where because they changed it up so much. But what a place. It was...
Could you imagine living there? Would you want to?
I would.
Yeah.
I would. But it was massive. I don't know whether just because I'm short, but I just see it as me being like Jack and the Beanstalk, tiny in this massive building. I never got the opportunity to go there when it closed quite a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
But there are books about it. Nurses have written stories about it. So, very interesting.
Didn't know that. And I know you told me about cemetery, but that was a long time ago. That it was still like an hour away from here, though.
The Spider Cemetery?
Maybe that one?
Yeah. All I can tell you is that the fence has they call it the Spider Cemetery or something, but it's a place I'd like to go. It's definitely said to be haunted.
That one. Like, and you told me some point of last year when we were talking about it, and we're like, okay, after COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, COVID's not completely gone, but you know what I mean?
Right. There's going to be less talking and more going once
Exactly.
this is over with.
I mean, we're all fully vaccinated, but here we go, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any more Medfield stories or questions as we finish up?
I think I covered everything I had.
Papa was just maintenance at Medfield, right? Or did he just kind of do everything?
No, he started off on 11 to 7 on the units.
Really? I did not know that.
Yep, he was in one of the houses, so he, oh, and then they floated when they needed people too, so he was also in the dual diagnosis unit, which was MR, mentally retarded and mentally ill. So we had some dual diagnosis folks too.
And one last memory. When I was in kindergarten, first grade, my papa would pick me up and drive me down the street to bring me to the bus. Before picking me up, he would go to Dunkin' Donuts, and Dunkin' Donuts gave him all their day-old donuts. They were all perfectly fine, but you can't sell day-old donuts. Mm-hmm. So he got boxes and boxes. So I'd sit in the back of the truck, open the boxes, be eating donuts, and then he'd slowly drive down to the spot, wait for the bus, and then I'd get on. But that was my morning for 2 years. And then my friends in the bus where are all those donuts for? Oh, they're for the patients. Just as early as I can remember. Medfield's been there.
It's I think might have been Roach Brothers. He used to make his trips to Dunkin', but he got spoken to for giving the patients donuts. Like they have, it's like they have all sorts of things that they shouldn't be having donuts, but and they used to stash them and hide them, and they called him the Muffin Man. And
Papa's the Muffin Man.
I mean, donuts made them happy. I mean, jeez.
They didn't have much going on in their lives.
Let them have donuts. Good grief. Or then monitor them then have them give them a bunch to the units and say, okay, everyone can have a donut. But no, the patients they'd stash them in the bushes.
Can you imagine?
Yep, he was the Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man. I would have never, ever, ever thought of him as the Muffin Man.
I mean, he was a giver. He was a tough German man, but he loved the patients, and they loved him.
Oh.
Yeah, special times.
Exactly.
Nice memories.
Oh, sorry, and one last story, because I always found it very funny. At some point, Massachusetts decided, people who don't work with patients, just wanted to pass something just to, show that they're being tough. They decided that these mentally ill patients who don't kind of watch TV and kind of don't really have much of a life, they weren't allowed to smoke because smoking is bad. And they passed this mandate that none of the patients could smoke. You're telling mentally handicapped people they cannot smoke. That's their one, with the exception of the Muffin Man showing up, it's like their one piece of pleasure.
That's right.
And I think, once again, you, Papa, my mom, someone, the patients were hounding the nurses, and finally the head nurse just lost it. She like ripped like the patch off of a patient, gave him the smoke, said, "Light up, I don't care," and just stormed off.
I mean, I understand how bad smoking is, but like you said, these people have nothing. And it was touchy with human rights.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the health piece won over. But what was bothersome to me is that, okay, the patients can't smoke. That's fine. But yet you have staff who come in smelling like smoke, go out on break. I don't think that's fair to the patients.
That's not fair.
And
I agree that's not fair, though.
I know it's an addiction, but it should have been, if you're a smoker, you either have to refrain from smoking while you're at work, or we can't hire you. And I know that's wrong, and that would be frowned upon, but that's not fair to them. And I am a patient advocate.
They couldn't watch TV, you said?
No. They kept saying that was like one of their few pleasures. Okay. I mean, they watch TV, they could go outside, and they had their smokes, and then occasional donut.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like you said, they had activities and such, but it's really not
much, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they was structured. That's all they had.
Mm.
And it's way back when, the staff would share their smokes with the patients, and hey, you got a light? Yeah, I got a light. I mean, everybody would go out and smoke together. Yeah, didn't like that. This was when everyone had to go outside.
Okay. I was gonna say, because you could still smoke inside. Well, I don't know actually here, because I know I lived in Spain, obviously. So whenever the law changed to only smoking outside, at least in my case, if I remember correctly, that was like 2005, 6, 7 tops.
I think right around 7. And if you had to, before that, you had to be 20 feet away from the buildings, which folks weren't. And I remember walking through the big cloud of smoke going into work and being in an office full of smoke all day long. I can't imagine. I must have stunk to high heaven.
It was awful.
Thank goodness. I mean,
and I don't smoke.
Every day.
Yeah, I don't smoke, and it was awful going out to restaurants, going out clubbing. That was like how many years. And all my clothes, we're off topic, but I don't care though. But you just put it on the ground, on the floor, and you're like, that goes to laundry tomorrow. Because oh my god.
Jump in the shower 2 a.m.
Exactly, your hair. Oh my god.
Yes.
So yeah.
I mean, can you imagine, like, now in the Department of Health, like, a patient and, like, a nurse, doctor, whatever, just passing a cigarette to each other? Like...
Oh, my God. I'd sound the alarms.
Here, have a light.
No light.
Different time.
Well, maybe it was Leo.
Oh, my God, Leo.
Maybe they would have said yes for Leo.
We walked the grounds that Leo walked. I can't believe it. Closest I'll ever be to him.
You can still manifest and wish. You never know.
That's true. They may do another movie there. Who knows?
Exactly. I mean, come on. Alrighty then.
Well, Auntie, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for all your information, all your insight, and all those stories. This episode's been requested for a very long time, so thank you for finally letting us have it.
Well, thank you for your patience, and thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure, and I have enjoyed going over the stories. Like I said, it was a great time for me, and it was nice to share.
I usually, as you both know, I mean, I have 3 podcasts, and I have a bunch of guests here and there. And one of my favorite things to do is I have a Mother's Day special for one of my podcasts, The Always Believer. And it's kind of like a time capsule because I ask them questions about where their kids are at this certain age and how they're doing and then stuff like that. I did it last year, I did it this year, and this feels like it, but just this version. It's like that time capsule of this moment of the heck of a year that we all went through, for example, but still that we were together under the same roof. I always think it's insane that it's the same roof after X amount of years, all of us together.
I know.
And it's just really, I guess that's my word right now today, or in general, magical, to be able to share this. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you both very much.
And as for us, KPM family, thank you very much for listening. You know where we are, and talk to y'all soon.
Have a good one, guys.